Hey, what's up guys? John here. Home prices are plummeting. We are starting to see more price reductions across the board than we've seen before, at least for the last few years. I believe we're stepping into a really interesting housing market. This entire dynamic that was sold to us over the past couple years, which is inflation fears, the housing shortage, essentially saying that this show is never going to end. Well, it looks like it's starting to end. This video is sponsored by CashNow.video. I'm going to speak a little bit more on that later. What's going on right now is home sellers are lowering their prices at the fastest clip since 2017. The U.S. housing market may finally be cooling off. Nearly 1 in 5 homes, so 20% of home inventories dropped their prices during the 4-week period ending May 22nd. The highest rate since 2019, according to a weekly Redfin study published on Thursday. The same 4-week period saw 13% fewer homes for sale, browser searches on Google, and 12% year-over-year drop in home tours and other related services from Redfin agents. And now, it's fascinating here. So home hunters take a note, the blazing hot housing market is finally cooling off. Then what we're looking at here is this home affordability. Look at this chart here for home affordability. Right around 2007, 2008, obviously we stepped through the big, economic downturn, but now we're starting to step right back into it. And we have Jerome Powell scheduled to increase interest rates again in just, right around the corner. So when that happens in June, what I believe we're going to start to see is we're going to start to see even more fear hit this housing market, and more people that are considering to buy homes now say, you know what, let's wait a little bit. Let's see how bad this actually gets. And this man here, Ryan Peterson, he said the San Francisco housing market is 28% of its total office inventory is on the market for lease or sublease, 28% of the entire office inventory. And the CEO of Airbnb said this moment feels similar to late 2008 when we started Airbnb. So some of the smartest people in the room are all saying the same thing. Even Ray Dalio, he was at Davos, he was saying that, we're stepping into some turbulent times coming soon. But a lot of the wealthy are saying the same thing. And that's why I believe in 2021, last year, Q3, Q4, they were all dumping and unloading because they want to sit heavily in cash for just this moment. We're stepping into some very, very uncertain times. Meanwhile, the market composite index, which tracks mortgage purchase applications, dropped 1.2% during the week ending May 20th. And sales of new homes are at the lowest levels since April 20th, down 16.6% from March, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, reported on Tuesday. Taken together, the numbers suggest that increasing home ownership costs have shrunk the pool of potential home buyers, forcing sellers to lower their prices. And so, that's very reminiscent also of what we've recently learned, is that 2 years ago, the national debt to income ratio is about 26%. So, basically, if you make $10,000 a month, your housing cost will be about $2,600. Well, now it's 31%, and it's getting more and more and more expensive, shrinking that pool of potential buyers. And so the buyer pool that's also getting shrunk is realizing that they're getting, a lot less house for the same monthly payment. And so as that continues, what I believe is likely going to happen is that home sellers are going to have to start readjusting their prices because buyers simply aren't going to continue to play this game. Because what's happening is that over the last couple of years, home sellers are controlling the entire housing market, dictating and determining every price, when normally in a traditional, market, the buyer is the one that determines the real price, not the seller. The seller can ask any price that they want, but what a ready, willing, and able buyer is willing to pay for it is what actually sets the price. And before, we had access to all this cheap money, and so that dynamic and that relationship was changing. But now the buyers are going to start having the power, at least a lot more power than they've had in the past. The interest rate for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage has surged nearly 2% since January, increasing monthly mortgage costs by 42.1% year over year as of May 22nd. Sellers are still asking for a lot of money. The median asking price for a home climbed to a record-setting $418,000, up 17.8% year over year, according to a Redfin study. But the rate of price growth has been relatively low over the past 4 weeks, suggesting a possible plateau. Now, what I believe is going to happen is what generally happens during every economic downturn, is that banks start realizing, hey, we took on a lot of risk. We lent a lot of money to people that maybe we should not have lent money to. And when inflation continues to get more out of control and the employment gets a little bit rocky and shaky on the borrowers in which they lent money to, they start to assume defaults on these mortgages. And then what ultimately happens is that future loans that they want to initiate, they're more careful, they're more selective with who actually gets mortgages. That's where CashNow.video comes in. We are a #1 credit repair specialist. We also assist with teaching people how to generate extra income and revenue online, whether it be through YouTube or if you want to invest in real estate when the market crashes, which I think is, could be right around the corner. CashNow.video is the best place to make sure that you're going to be able to qualify for the best mortgage. You're going to be able to bring in as much money as possible, and you're going to make sure you buy the right deal with bi-weekly phone calls with me and a community around you of people just like you. Now back to the video. The price of a softening housing market is becoming more clear, especially to home sellers, increasingly turning to price drops as buyers become more cost conscious under higher mortgage rates. A Redfin chief economist wrote in the study report, "For now, mortgage rates have stabilized and I expect prices to do the same." In Redfin's previous report, Fairweather also commented on a potential slowdown, noting that home buyers might be able to take advantage of sinking prices without the upcoming summer. This sudden pressure on sellers is good news for those home buyers who can still afford to buy at today's higher mortgage rates. These trends point to an even cooler market this summer. Now, what I think ultimately happened as well over the past couple of years is we had a very emotional market. People were very, everything that happened, if they lived in a big city, they went through a lot. Whether they lost their job or they left the city because they wanted a different lifestyle, they made an impulsive buy. Many people did. And so they went out there and they paid a lot for this property. And now what's ultimately happening is they're going to start to see their equity from that property slowly get evaporated as interest rates increase. And then maybe they want to go back to the city in which they initially left. Now they're stuck with this house. We're going to start to see all these different trends and changes coming to the real estate market. I believe that these trends are going to be here for a very long time. And I think what's ultimately going to happen is as interest rates continue to rise, the home prices are going to likely get dragged down with it. And smart money, the deep pockets, are going to run out there acquiring all of the houses that they possibly can inside of a certain price range. Ideally, probably between the $200,000 and $400,000 price range, which is going to be where the affordable properties are. And why would they buy that? Well, they buy that inventory because as the market pulls back, people will downsize from the $500,000 house to the $300,000 house. People from the $600,000, $700,000 house might downsize to the $500,000 house and maybe the $400,000 house. They start acquiring a bigger market share and they take less risks on each purchase. So this is what I think is going to happen. I believe we're going to start to see a lot of properties trade hands over the next couple of years. I believe fortunes will be made for those that have the game plan, those that have the credit, and those that really have the income, the money coming in. They'll be the ones that capitalize on this trend, because what we're going to see is that cheap money is going to go away. That cheap money is already going away. We went from a 2.85% interest rate just 6 months ago to now in the mid fives. And when they increase interest rates again, it's going to be in this probably high fives or maybe even low sixes. And that's if you have a 700 credit score or greater. What generally happens is people that have 650 credit scores, 680 credit scores, they don't get loans when things hit the fan because banks don't want to lend to them. Or if they do, it's an atrocious loan where there's 2 points on the loan. They pay an extra quarter or a half a point every single month on that interest rate. I mean, if you look at a chart of how this actually works over a 30-year fixed rate, if you borrow, say, $200,000, $250,000 at one interest rate, and then you look at that same exact loan, but you increase the interest rate half a point, the difference is like $40,000. It's an astronomical sum. This is what I think is likely going to happen. We're going to start to see this whole market change, and the smart people with a plan, they're going to be the ones that do really well. But I think we're going to see a lot of people get in trouble during this entire transition as we step out of this euphoric economy. What do you think about this entire situation? Drop your comments below. Hit the like button. Subscribe here. Also subscribe to my second YouTube channel. It's going to be a podcast and an interactive show coming this upcoming week. And also LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Everything's in the banner. I'll catch you guys later.